Hey, cheers, and welcome to the StudyQueen.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. So, I think what we will do is, I will put up my side of the pieces.
Yes.
In this awesome ChessUp bag, and then you can tell us a little bit about what we will take a look at today.
Yes. I have a very beautiful game with me today. It's one of the Immortal games. It is the Immortal Zugzwang game, played with the white pieces Saemisch and with the black pieces Nimzowitch from Latvia. And this game was played over 100 years ago, 101 years ago, back in 1923 in Copenhagen. And it became a very, very famous game because it had a very unique theme in the middle game. Something we often see in the end game, but very rarely as early as it happened in this game. And so I've put you on the white side of the board. So you're going to see it from Saemisch perspective. And Saemisch was a very strong German grandmaster. But in this game, he did not manage to put up a good defense against Nimzowitch.
And that is, I guess, because the way that Nimzowitch won the game was something that's very hard to plan for, because it's very rare.
Yes,
or maybe unique even.
Very unique.
Fantastic. I am looking so much forward to this. While you put up your pieces, I can make a little spiel for our product here. This is the ChessUp board. You will see how it works during the video. It is super cool, and if you want to own one yourself, then it's so cool for you to be an ASMR chess viewer, because we made a deal with Chess and the awesome people who makes the board that viewers of this channel can get a 10% discount on this chessboard, which is the most advanced chessboard in the world. You can use it to play online against people on chess.com. You can analyze games with it. You can have assistance. You can learn, you can practice openings. It does basically everything, and it's all controlled from this little touchscreen over here. So, that is the pieces. There's a link and a promo code in the description for a 10% discount on the board. And now for the chess.
Yes.
So I have the white pieces.
You have the white pieces.
Saemisch.
You're playing Saemisch, and Saemisch, he started the game with pawn from d2 to d4.
So there would be this. Oh, I have to activate the board. So in order to utilize one of the features of this board, I will go in the menu here and say we'll have a 2-player game. Actually, I think I should choose assistance level 5. And I will have assistant level 5 for black as well. So now we have the game, so you can see that when I touch the pawn,
oh, that's beautiful.
It says that the blue move is okay, it's not a mistake, but the recommended move, the good move, is the green move. So
okay,
I'll go here.
Oh, that's very cool. And Nimzowitch, he moved this knight, so now I'm curious to see where the chessboard think we should put it. And as suspected, it thinks the knight should go towards the center of the game.
So knight
to f6.
Yeah.
Saemisch now pushed his c-pawn 2 squares up, so c2 to c4.
And you can play pawn to c3 if you want to get into the London system.
Yes.
In a weird way, but
yeah, this is by far the most common. And now Nimzowitch, he pushed this pawn. You can push it to e5.
I want to say a thing here. We have a bit of a history, the two of us.
Yes.
With moving the pawn to the blue square, which is the Budapest defense.
Yes.
And
we have some good blitz game in this opening. But you know, Nimzowitch, he didn't have our courage, so he only pushed the pawn.
So he played the best move.
Which is, objectively the best move.
He didn't have the courage to play a poor move for the fun of it.
Now, here we have a position where the two most played moves are the knight moves. So knight c3 is very often played.
The knight coming here.
Yes, but Nimzowitch, he made a lot of theory, and one of the things he's most famous for is a system against knight c3 in this opening. So if white had played knight c3 now,
if I had done this,
then this bishop would go, you can see the green square up there, make a pin on the knight, maybe capture it and give white double pawns. It's completely playable for white, but Saemisch did not want to enter this line.
And that opening is...
That is called the Nimzo-Indian.
Because it's Nimzowitch invented
this. It's
so Saemisch
named after him.
Yeah,
he did not want that. So he put out the other knight to f3.
Okay, and what's that called?
Actually, it's funny. It's called the anti-Nimzo.
Okay.
So he actually named two openings.
Yeah,
the Nimzo-Indian and the anti-Nimzo-Indian.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So basically it's also a message from Saemisch.
Yes.
So, okay, you're a famous guy. You have invented an opening.
Yeah.
And I will play the anti-you opening.
Exactly. So now it's not completely... You could still give the check, but then the knight doesn't have to go...
Yeah, I could play knight d2 instead.
Yeah, bishop d2.
Bishop d2.
So instead, Nimzowitch chooses to focus on this bishop. And he plays pawn from b6, b7 to b6, the green move.
Yeah.
And Saemisch decides to do the same thing with his slight squared bishop. So he pushes the g2 pawn to g3. Yes.
And is this... it's about putting the bishops on the long.
Yeah. So both bishops now go on the long diagonal. Nimzowitch plays bishop c8 to b7. Although you can see bishop a6 is also possible. And Saemisch puts his bishop on g2. So now they're eyeing each other on the long diagonal.
Cool. I have a couple of questions for you here.
Yes.
So I'm interested in where are we in the game now? What is the evaluation, or like what can we say about this position? And I'm curious about if we have any clues to how like the very remarkable way, the unique way even, the game ends. Can we see anything towards this, or Saemisch has maybe no idea what's coming?
Not yet. At this point, it's just still very early in the opening phase. Both players are focusing on opening principles like controlling the center of the board, getting out their pieces, going to castle in a short time. So no, at this point, both players are just playing good chess, playing things that have been played before. It's only much further down the road that we can start to see what is going to go wrong, what is going to go horribly wrong for white.
Okay, so last question before we continue. And that question is, what is the battle now? In this part of the game, what are they fighting about?
Well, they're the two most important principles in the opening. It is the middle of the board, and it is development. So they're both trying to keep up. So we can see black has developed these two pieces. White has developed these two pieces. White, right, for now has the better central control with these two pawns, but black is black can challenge that center, and black is going to challenge that center in a short while.
Right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think this part of the game is very interesting, particularly with a guy like Nimzowitch, who has written the most influential chess book of all
probably,
time, My System. And he is part of, so far as I understand, the Hypermodern school of chess. That was a big thing in the 20s, and it was very much about saying, yes, we agree with the old geniuses, with Steinitz and whatever, that center control is extremely important, But the wisdom of the day was that you had to do what white is doing and control the center with pawns immediately.
Yeah.
And the Hypermodern school, Richard Reti, Nimzowitch, and a bunch of others, saying, well, you can influence the center from the flanks with the knight attacking these squares and the bishop attacking squares in the center, and only later.
Yes.
And would you say that's an accurate?
Absolutely. What I've also learned is that these modern openings, which is what Nimzowitch is playing here, but also the Nimzo Indian, the Perk defense, modern defense, of course, they all focus mainly on development of the first moves, and then only a little bit later will they challenge the middle of the board.
Right.
Yeah.
And I learned from Peter Svidler, watching a Peter Svidler video, that it's actually not called the perk.
What is it called?
Peerts.
The Peerch. Okay.
Yeah,
the Peerch. I have heard many different pronunciations, but the Peerch.
Yeah, apparently it's how you pronounce that name.
The Peerch.
But it's spelled P-I-R-C, so everybody says perk. Okay.
Yeah. So let me see. We both put out our bishops, and let me see. B6 here, here, here. Black now puts out this bishop so that he's ready to castle, and he puts it just here, very safe and sound. Now white could of course castle, but he chose to develop the other knight first.
And I'm thinking c3.
Yes.
Because now the bishop has moved.
Exactly.
So if you wanted to pin, you have to move it again and waste a move. Okay, so I go to c3, which also is a green move.
And now putting the bishop up to b4 now would be a waste of time.
Yeah.
So Nimzowitch castles instead. Goes like here, and the rook goes to the other side. It's very nice to castle on this board.
Yeah, it looks,
And you can get to castle now because that's what he did. Great.
It's like the satisfying.
Yes, it is. And now we see how these sort of modern openings work. Now Nimzowitch gets to challenge the center. Do you have any idea how black could challenge the center?
Well, I would say there are two moves.
Yeah.
Which would be c5 and d5. And the computer likes d5, I can see.
Yes, that's also what he played.
We can cut that out, and I can say that I'm pretty sure that d5 is the
Yes, I mean d5 is a little bit more in the center, and you can see that he has several pieces already pointing towards that square. So he pushes d7 to d5. And now Saemisch, he also played in the middle of the board, but with a piece. He played knight to e5.
So that's also a green move. The knight comes here, and it actually looks after c4.
Yes.
It actually protects c4.
Yeah.
And you are, of course... Sorry.
It's a tricky knight.
And you are, of course, also looking at a lot of squares.
Yes, and you could say even that this knight, of course, it protects c4. It also protects it from a tactical point of view, because you just opened up for this bishop. So if black were to capture here, it's not just a trade, it's a blunder, because you can see it's a red move.
If you come in from the side with the other hand, maybe the audience can see that. Try to touch it again. That capturing that pawn is now a red move, because, and if you look at this one, it can come and snag your undefended bishop.
This is undefended.
Yeah, so it's a clever move.
It is a pretty clever move. And Nimzowitch reacted to this immediately by pushing his pawn from c7 to c6, giving more support to the d5 pawn, which Saemisch now took with his pawn.
Yeah, I'm guessing also you are kind of, if you want to, you could better consider capturing here. The knight could still recapture, but at least the bishop is. But and that's not a green move, so maybe it's not the best, but it's a fine move. It's blue, it's not red. So
that's fine. Now I have a question for you. How do you think Nimzowitch should recapture this pawn? I mean, it's of course not taking with the queen, and it would be lost.
Yeah.
But what other options are there?
Well, I can see, apart from the queen, I can see 3 options.
Yes, exactly.
And one would be the knight, and I'm not touching it now, so I won't
So
get the
you can
clue.
see the color.
But one could be the knight, and then
Yes.
the pawn, and then the pawn.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'm going to look at is this pawn, because I think that's the worst move. But then if I can confirm that it's the worst move, I can rule it out. So I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing, is there any advantage to that move? And I can't really see it, other than potentially opening up the e-file, but the e-file does not look exploitable. So then I pause that, and I look at the knight. Is there any point in capturing with the knight? And I guess if white was forced to play knight takes knight, then maybe, but it doesn't look like it helps me dominate the center in the long term. So the last one I will consider is capturing with the c-pawn, which looks like I'll have 2 pawns in the center, very well defended, instead of capturing with this one where I only have 1 pawn in the center. And I would have a potentially open c-file for the rook, which looks more exploitable.
Yeah.
So how is that analysis?
I think that's a great analysis.
Yeah.
So you can try to touch the c-pawn and see if it thinks it's a good move. Oh, it's the best move. And this also follows the rule of thumb that you should capture towards the center. So that is what he did here.
Fantastic.
Now Saemisch, he developed his final minor piece. So he put his dark squared bishop on f4. You can see there's several good options.
Yes, but on f4. And do you know what I would consider playing in this? And you would probably yell at me in a very calm ASMR way. I would consider playing pawn to f4, because we've had a couple of videos where we discussed this, what is it called, Pillsbury?
Oh, yeah, the Pillsbury Knight.
But,
very good. You remember what I'm teaching you.
And I'm suspecting that it's not going to be a green move, because it makes this square extremely weak.
Yeah.
I'll just take a look. It's okay.
Actually okay. I mean, it's not a critical position yet, so there are several moves you can play that won't be bad moves. But it's more natural to develop your pieces. And also, the bishop is actually quite good on f4. Because it looks, of course there's this knight on e5, but it looks at some of these dark squares. So maybe imagine that a rook could go to c1, and the knight here would go to b5. Suddenly there would be like
3
weakness on c7.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the reasons why Nimzowitch plays this next move, because he pushes his pawn from a7 to a6, a green move. He's stopping knight b5, and he's also preparing to play b5 himself.
Yeah, if I touch the knight now, I can see that's a red move.
Yeah, that's a
because
free
it will
knight.
just be captured.
Yes.
So he's actually, by defending this square, you could say he's looking at defending this square. It's
exactly.
Grandmaster way of playing.
Yes. But Saemisch, he was a very talented player. He also beat Nimzowitch in other games. But he now found another good move, a move that also indirectly looks at c7.
Right. So rook move?
Yeah.
Rook c1?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
let's see if it's a green move.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
It really does.
Open file.
Yes.
The rook want to be usually on the open file.
Great. And Nimzowitch now continues to expand a little bit on the queen side by pushing this pawn to b5. This is also taking a little bit of control of this c4 square. So maybe black wants to use this square for a knight, perhaps, whereas white has good control over the c5 square.
Yeah, there's a trade-off.
Yeah, so it's still a very balanced game. We can't really say that anybody is in trouble yet. Yeah. It's balanced.
Yeah, and as long as white have the option of pushing pawn to b3, you'll have to.
Yeah.
So I could potentially kick something away here.
So it wouldn't be an outpost. This square.
The definition of an outpost is you can't be kicked away by a pawn. Is that?
Yes, it has to be a square in the opponent's side of the board. So this would be on black's opponent's side of the board. It should be protected by a pawn. Here it's protected by 2 pawns, and it cannot be challenged by a pawn. So if white were to move the pawn to b4, then c4 would become an outpost.
So that's an outpost square, and that is generally like a very nice thing to have.
Yeah, especially for the knights. They love going to outposts.
I have been on the receiving end of that a number of times.
Great.
But now it's white to go?
Yes, and what
or
white
is it
did...
to go?
It is.
Right.
Like just put his pawn there. So white now finished development by making the rooks connected. And how can you make the rooks connected now?
So the queen is in the way?
Yes.
You have to move the queen. I would say to go to d2, just to work with the bishop, and be on the dark squares, because the light squares are very firmly, all of these pawns are on the light square. Knight is on a dark square, meaning it attacks light squares. So I'm a little bit afraid of going to the light squares. I could go to a light square, I could go to b3, but I would guess queen to d2.
Okay, that's not what he played. Let me try to. I don't see anything wrong necessarily with queen d2, except maybe black can put the knight on h5, and then the bishop won't have as many retreating squares.
That makes
could be
the
sense. Issue, but let's try to touch the queen and see. Okay, as long as you don't put her on a4.
Actually, what we can do is we can try to put the queen here, and then just check if we touch here. Yes.
That is the best move.
The best move is here because of the reasons you outlined.
Yeah.
I'm attacking the bishop. The bishop does not have a good place to go. I have to go here. Horrible. Okay, so I put the queen move back, and then I do go to b3.
Yeah, he put it on b3.
b3.
Yeah, exactly.
So just an okay move, but not very perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
To b3.
And now white has finished his development, and Nimzowitch tried to catch up a little bit. So he started by putting this knight to c6. It's a green move. And Saemisch decided to capture that knight.
So knight takes knight.
Yes.
It's a green move. Everything else is red.
Yes.
So probably not.
Nimzowitch, of course, took back. That is the only green move in the position, I will be fairly sure. And now I want you to notice something in Nimzowicz's camp that could be a potential problem.
Right. So I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Do you guys know what she's talking about? I think that she's talking about the bishop being undefended. Okay.
Are you just... who are you talking to?
The audience.
Oh, you're whispering to the audience.
You don't... Yeah, I forgot that you're wearing headphones and can't hear everything I'm saying. But is that... So you heard like I was thinking about this?
Yeah. And I am very proud of you for noticing that. Because loose pieces drop off.
They do.
Not always, but you should be very careful about having... Do you see any way that white could try to win this bishop? Or maybe not win it, but attack it at least?
Yes. So the thing is we have the rook on the same line. is the undefended bishop. So the first thing I'm looking at, do I have a nice capture with the knight where I open this up? And the problem is, it looks like that the two captures I have with the knight, they're both protected by the bishop. So let's say I come here, capture that, and say, haha, if you recapture with your pawn, I will capture your bishop. You will just recapture with the bishop.
Yes.
And there's no attack. And I just lose the knight.
Yeah.
So I would probably think, move like I would consider would be maybe like knight e4.
Yeah.
Because if the bishop is saved from the rook, let's say bishop drops back, I could move somewhere with tempo now. I could come here. I could capture the knight with check, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you would have opened the c file.
Yeah.
So I actually think that is the best move that white could play. You can try to touch the knight because it's not what he played, but you can see that is actually a green move.
Yeah.
Here he played. I'm curious to see if the board thinks it's an inaccuracy, but he did play a move that I would at least say was not a blunder, but at least an inaccuracy. He pushed his pawn from h2 to h3. Okay, so it's not a mistake, but it's also not the best we can see.
Not green, yeah. And all it does really is it gives a little bit of an escape square for the king, and it controls g4 maybe against the knight a little bit.
But maybe that wasn't so important, because the knight was probably not headed to g4 anyways. And it's very far from the middle of the board. It doesn't threaten anything, so it's not a very ambitious move. And also it allowed Nimzowitch to finish his development. So he put his queen here. You can see the only queen move. Put it on d7.
Okay, it's interesting that it's so much better than here or here.
Yeah, I think. Because with the other moves, were they
completely
red?
unexploitable, though. Yeah,
but I mean, it's protecting the bishop and connecting the rooks, so it's just a very natural move. And Saemisch now put his king on h2.
Okay.
Yeah.
That also seems a little bit like he's not going for. It's like he's playing with fear a little bit.
He's playing very safe, maybe too safe.
King to h2.
Yeah.
Just a blue move, not a mistake necessarily, but.
The thing is, against players like Nimzowitch and these top level guys, you can't just play, quiet moves all the time. So they're gonna come for you.
Yeah, it accumulates. Like you make too many blue moves and put that together, it becomes a red move.
Already at this point, I believe that black has a bit of an advantage. And now he played this move, knight. He put it on h5, another green move. We can see that it attacks the bishop, and do you think, of course the bishop is defended, but do you think white would allow black to capture that bishop?
That's a leading question.
It is. I'm very good at it, but sometimes I also ask them, it's a trick.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be a yes.
Okay, awesome people, guys and girls and everything in between and in beyond. Is it a trick? Just pretend you can't hear me. Okay. Is it a trick? Or will we move the bishop? Because I think that I would absolutely move the bishop.
Yes.
Because if I don't move the bishop, knight takes bishop, pawn takes bishop. I have bad double pawns here. And for instance, if you just play bishop here, looking at this, looking at the king, the king safety is being torn to shreds.
Completely.
And maybe you could argue you could push this pawn, then takes and you capture with that, and the king safety is not compromised. But I push this pawn, I think you just play g5. And the bishop has nowhere to go. Almost. Maybe. So I would play bishop d2.
Yes, exactly. And you're absolutely right that it's not so much the knight for bishop trade that we're worried about. It's the ruined pawn structure, especially around the king.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you wanted to move it to d2. I'm very glad that you said that. One could also put it on the other, on e3, but it's not so good to block our central pawns that
blocks in
haven't.
this one.
Yeah, so d2 I would definitely say is the better move.
Apparently pawn to e4 is somehow playable. That's crazy. Or do you think the machine is just losing the plot a little bit?
No, I think it's possible, but it's not comfortable.
No.
Okay. Now Nimzowitch is really going for it in this game, right? He's getting the initiative now. He just pushed the bishop back, and now he's trying to play on the king side as well. And he does that by pushing this pawn from f7 to f5. It's only a blue move. So the computer says that there was something better, but it's still quite a nice move, I think. Maybe this pawn wants to go someday to f4, so this rook can become active. I think it's a great way of playing.
Also, it brings up an interesting point we could talk about a little bit. So this game was played in 1923.
Yes.
That is at the time of this recording, 101 years ago. And chess is not static. Chess develops.
Yes.
And our understanding of chess develops. And that's actually people like Nimzowitch that are almost like chess philosophers, and they extract ideas and principles and write about them and teach them, and that helps us do that. And chess was not as developed 101 years ago. Particularly, the big thing that happened was computers.
Yeah.
And computers have shown that some things that we thought were so unintuitive and made no sense to our way of thinking, we thought it can't be played. It doesn't look like it have a plan or whatever.
Yeah.
And the computer showed that if you are able to calculate 1 million or 2 billion variations,
Yes.
there's actually a lot of stuff that's possible.
Yeah.
It's a very big world, the world of chess.
It really is. And was of course still at this time, because it wasn't like a new game still in 1923. And of course back then they also know that you should be careful about moving the f-pawn. But if we look at the position here, does f5 weaken the black king? Not really. I mean, because okay, this queen is of course on the same diagonal, but it's still blocked by 2 other black pawns.
Yeah, and this pawn is defended by 2 other things in addition to this pawn.
Yeah.
And if something crazy happened, it's not like moving the king to h8
Of course.
loses automatically.
Yeah, I mean, White already spent time playing h3 and king h2, so that would absolutely be possible.
And pawn to f4 looks deadly.
Yeah. Now White gets an idea that has to do with this knight being undefended. Because now this bishop is no longer undefended, but there's an undefended piece here. It's not such a good idea to push the pawn. You can see that's a red move that's going to ruin the king side structure and safety. Yeah. But how else could you try to put a little bit of pressure on this knight?
The queen or the bishop.
Yeah.
Bishop could come to f3, or the knight could move and the queen could come to f3, or the queen could go to d1.
Yeah.
And then you have to push this pawn somehow.
And that is what he planned to do here.
So queen to d1.
Yes, exactly.
Queen goes to d1 again, just a blue move.
Yeah.
So they accumulate. If you make too many of those, they will accumulate. They will become a red move.
Exactly. But his plan is, you already mentioned it, he wants to push this pawn to e4, attacking the knight in the process, and then the pawn on e4. Like if White could play e4 now, black would have to move the knight, and then the pawn here would have several options. It could take here, it could take here, it could go here. But Nimzowitch, he of course saw this, and because it takes a little bit of time for white to set up this plan. So he spent the next few moves really pushing white further down the board.
Yeah, that makes sense as a strategy. Following a backwards queen move like that, all of a sudden it looks like white actually only has one piece at the front lines of the battle.
Exactly.
Versus just in a simplistic way, 4 pieces on the front line of the battle for black, you could say.
And that just goes even further for the next few moves. So Nimzowitch pushes this pawn. You can say it's a green move. And the reason why this move is so good is try to look at where the knight can go.
Nowhere.
It can go one where.
Okay, so the queen is actually, because I was like, oh, it could go to a4 because it's protected by the queen, but it's that square, because of the clever queen move, is attacked twice.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Can't go here.
Can't go there.
Can't go. It would actually just touch it because it probably have one green move.
Yeah.
All the other places it can just get captured. So now
this is not a good night.
No, like it's one pawn near the battle front of the battle, and actually there are just 2 pawns on the third ring, and the rest of the white army is on the 2 first ones.
Yeah,
that something must have gone wrong.
Something must have gone wrong, and Nimzowitch, he had another way of preventing this pawn move, and that is by putting the bishop here on b5, pinning the pawn. Sorry.
Yeah, so the pawn can't move because we would capture the rook.
Yes, but Saemisch was quite insisting on making this plan work, so he moved his rook to g1.
That looks strange.
It's again kind of pushing everything, all the white pieces, backwards to the sides.
Yeah, I would
again,
have thought at least to e1.
Yeah.
But then, so he goes here.
Yeah.
It is lined up potentially against the king. That's one positive thing I can say about it.
It's maybe it works a little bit as a defending piece over there.
Yeah, defends the bishop and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But now Nimzowitch decided that he wasn't so scared about the pawn move to e4 anymore.
Okay.
He thought, I'm gonna call your bluff, Saemisch. If you want to play that with all your pieces pushed back, then be my guest. I'm gonna improve another one of my pieces. And he put this bishop, you can see green move, put it on d6, eyeing the white king.
Yeah.
Saemisch, of course, he had a plan for the last 3 or 4 moves, and he finally got a chance to play it.
Yeah. But, the knight and the bishop coordinating on here, we can suddenly see why the rook may be needed for the defense. Yeah. But he's going with the e4 plan.
He is going for the e4 now.
And it's not a mistake, but it's one of many blue moves.
Yeah.
And, us mortal people, we can play a bunch of blue moves and still win a game. Against, like a genius, it becomes problematic.
Yeah.
So the knight is attacked now.
Yes. And Nimzowitch has to decide what to do about that knight. I imagine I actually don't think you could put it back on f6.
No, you just push this pawn.
Yeah. So we can try to go like here. All knight moves are going to be blunders, or mistakes at least.
And if you even defend it with this move, then you get the pawn moving forward and capturing, and
allowing this pawn to push is probably not a good idea.
Also just takes, check, moves,
yeah,
check,
exactly.
takes.
But that's also not what Nimzowitch had in mind. He was prepared to sacrifice the knight to another. Yes, sack the knight. And he still captured towards the center, so he took with the f pawn.
Yeah,
you can see that's a green move. this does several good things. It completely blocks out this bishop.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up for this rook.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see how white is starting to get very, very cramped.
The center here, these pawns, it's just rock solid.
Completely. I don't know if Saemisch was a happy guy at this point, because his plan just succeeded.
He captured the knight, maybe?
Yes, he captured the knight.
Well, you have
It's
to
a
do
green
that.
move.
You spend all this energy doing it, so
Yes.
if you don't even capture the knight, then it's just a
Yeah,
lot
and you
of
just
trouble.
sacrificed a pawn. And the thing is that if we compare here, so Nimzowitch, he lost a knight,
Mm-hmm.
but he gained a pawn, and he can now get yet another pawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this pawn hangs.
Yes, and that's not a bad pawn to take.
Well, that's supposed to be defending the king.
Have you read my system?
Yeah. Well,
And
Nimzowicz's
Yeah,
system.
Nimzowitch is my system. And do you know what he says about the rooks?
Well, of course, they belong on open files.
Yes, and even better.
And he wants. No, I can't. It's not the pawn. The pawn is a criminal.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. A passed pawn is a criminal.
Yeah, that must be kept on the
Yeah.
lock.
No, I'm not looking for direct quote, but
It's
just that
like getting the pigs.
getting the pigs.
Yeah, like if you put 2 rooks
Oh,
on the second or
yeah,
7th rank.
Of course, 2 rooks on
Yeah.
the 2nd or the 7th rank is amazing,
Yeah.
but even just 1 rook.
Yeah.
I mean, the rooks, they're great in open files,
Yeah.
but even better when they get to the opponent's 2nd or 7th rank.
Yeah. Yeah, now the rook pins the bishop to the king, attacks this bishop, so this knight has to stay defending it.
So it's actually a threat now that this bishop would go to d3 to capture this knight, so that this would be left undefended. So Nimzowitch is now threatening to put this bishop
Mm-hmm.
on d3
Mm-hmm.
in order to capture this knight, so that the bishop on d2 would be left undefended.
Right, and you could just capture it, and the
Yeah.
bishop does not have a million squares to go to.
No,
Okay.
completely. So Saemisch decided to overprotect the bishop on d2 by putting the queen on d5.
On g5.
Yeah.
So I ignore the blue move, I
Yes.
go here, maybe looking at the king a little bit, but that's very theoretical, but I'm at least,
Yeah,
so even if this one goes away, you can't capture my bishop at
exactly.
least. Right.
And Nimzowitch does something that I think a lot of players should practice.
Mhm.
Look at their position and say, okay, which one of my pieces is doing
The least?
the least
Yeah.
amount of work right now? I think if you look at the black pieces, it will be kind of obvious which piece is not doing
Yeah.
very important thing right now.
Yeah, the rook on a8.
Yeah, this
That
one.
one.
Where could we put this rook?
On f8 to work
Exactly.
with the other rook.
Yes. The green move.
Yeah.
That is the problem. He keeps finding the green moves.
Yeah.
And
That
poor
becomes a problem.
Saemisch.
Yeah. That becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So now, even though he's down a knight for 2 pawns, black is, all of his pieces are monsters, except maybe for the queen, but this bishop is just slicing in this bishop, lasering the king. The center's rock solid. The 2 rooks, this is forever protected by the other rook. It's on the 2nd rank, attacking everything, and the white pieces.
It's super hard to find anything active for white to do. He actually put his king back to h1, which at least it frees the bishop.
It's the
It
best
is actually
move,
the best
apparently. And it does free this bishop,
Yeah.
and also we see a little bit of an extra point with the queen coming here, because queen is also protecting here. So
True.
yeah,
True.
so a valiant defensive effort.
Yeah,
but will it work out?
It's probably just a little bit too late.
Yeah.
Because Nimzowitch is not quite done pushing, squeezing
Right, okay.
white's pieces. So he played another move that kind of pushes white backwards, and you can see that only one of the white pieces have really crossed the middle.
Yes, this...
Yes, so can you push her?
Yeah, I can play h6.
You could play h6, that's true.
I could play bishop here.
Yes, but this bishop is maybe quite nice here because it's eyeing the g3 pawn.
I could play this rook here.
Yes.
Is that the move?
That is the move.
That is, yeah, that's much more effective.
Yes, and you just put the rook from a8 to f8, so now we can use it.
Yeah, so this rook went from doing nothing over here to being influencing the center, attacking the queen, helping this rook out, and allow this is a super valuable piece.
Completely.
Yeah.
And Saemisch now put his queen back on e3.
Yeah, I have to save the queen.
Yes.
Actually, apparently this is a little better. I'm thinking we are at a point now where it's getting close to being beyond saving, maybe?
Yes, it is actually beyond saving, especially after Nimzowicz's next move.
Mm-hmm.
He puts this bishop on d3.
And that's a red move.
It
Let's
might
take a
be
look.
a red move, but I don't. Maybe there's, a quicker way, but he's not in a hurry.
Let's see if there's a green move. What does
Okay.
it think is a green move?
Mm-hmm.
There's something. Oh, it wants this. It wants rook here.
Yes, of course. That is. Let me just check if I messed up one of the last two moves, because maybe he actually put. He didn't kick the queen back until next move. I think maybe that's what happened. No, he did play this.
So apparently, the reason that the bishop move is a red move is not necessarily that it's
still completely winning.
Yeah, so we have to talk a little bit about how a chess AI works.
Yes.
So what the chess AI will do is it will look at a billion different moves and calculate, and then it will give them all a score.
Yeah.
And that score could be like, if it's plus something, it's good for white. If it's minus something, it's good for black. So one number evaluates the entire position. And probably the thing is that this rook move coming here, pushing the queen, I think here or something.
Yes.
That's probably like plus or minus 10.
Yes, and the
other move is minus 6 or something.
Exactly.
So it says, well, it's much better to do this other thing. So it's a blunder to do the other thing. But from a human perspective, you will very often play a suboptimal move because it's still winning and it's easier to play.
Completely. It actually reminds me of I played a game a year ago in a tournament. And I had a good game, and then at one point I found a tactic that was winning my opponent's queen. And I played that move, and my opponent resigned. And I was very proud of this game, and I went home and I analyzed the game with an engine. And the engine told me that the move that I played that won my opponent's queen, it was a blunder, because I missed that I had checkmate in 8 moves.
Oh.
But I mean, if I hadn't... It's hard to see a checkmate in 8 moves.
That's a lot of moves.
Not for an engine, but for a human, it's hard to see a checkmate in 8 moves. So if you can see that you can win a queen, or if you can...
And there's no compensation.
Yeah, it's still completely winning, of course. And I think the reason that he plays this move, which is, a red move, it is preparing the same idea.
Yeah.
Rook e2.
Yeah,
and then the queen would not be able to escape to b3.
Yeah.
So it's a very logical move.
It's very, very patient also.
And how will white defend a rook coming to e2? The queen can't really move.
With the rook?
Yeah.
This rook?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the other one better? The
Maybe
other one apparently a little better.
slightly
Probably
better.
doesn't matter that much.
Great. And now for the fun finale.
Yeah.
Nimzowitch pushed his pawn. I'm not sure that this is going to be a queen move, but it doesn't really matter, as we're going to see in a moment. It actually is a queen move. That's satisfying.
Yeah.
Here. And his poor opponent, Saemisch, who was actually up a knight, he resigned.
He just gave up?
He just gave up, and that seems weird.
Yeah.
Until you look at White's options.
Okay, so don't stop the video now, awesome viewers, because we have to understand this is actually the real fun part.
Yeah, now comes the
interesting,
unique part about this game. Why would you resign in a position where you're up a piece?
And you have
okay for two pawns, but still you have lots of pieces left. You're not getting checkmated immediately. But the thing is, okay, I can start by saying White could push some pawns, but you are going to run out of pawn moves eventually. Okay. So let's look at what the pieces can do here. The knight, the bishops, the rook.
I'll start over here.
Yeah.
I'll just go over it. So I'll say, where can this knight go? It has these two squares that are actually both blue. That means that there are way worse moves in the position. And the problem with both of these moves are that you're just putting the knight on an attacked square where it will be captured almost for free. You will maybe get a pawn, but it will not improve your position at all.
Yep.
So you can sacrifice the knight for almost nothing. That's one thing. You could move the bishop back. And there's a funny thing, like, what is the problem with moving the bishop back? I think that this rook is then no longer defending the knight. So the bishop just captures the knight for free. So the knight is toast there. And if the bishop goes here, just captured by the pawn. And if the bishop captures the pawn, it'll be captured by this one.
Yep.
So knight, no moves. Bishop, no moves. Queen, a whole bunch of red squares.
Yeah,
so everything
can just be taken.
Everything is defended. This 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 is defended. Everything is defended. The queen can go nowhere.
Yeah. What about that rook?
This rook.
Oh, this rook.
Well.
Why is it bad no matter where you put that rook?
Well, because I put the rook here, or White rather put the rook here, to stop this rook coming here.
Yes.
Sort of checkmating the queen. The queen will be lost. So no matter where I go with the rook, I allow rook to e2, trapping the queen.
Yes.
The queen doesn't have any squares. The bishop, the rook. What about this rook? Well, if I put the rook here, you can just capture it. Capture, 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 capture.
Yeah.
So this square is controlled more when this rook moves, so that doesn't work. If the king doesn't move, if the king goes up here.
That's actually maybe the most subtle idea. Why can't the king just go back and forth?
Why can't the... We lost a little bit of light, but I think it still looks kind of beautiful, so we'll just go with this. Okay, I'll just take a look.
Yes.
We can go move back, so I'll go here. And there's probably some knockout blow that's...
now this bishop cannot move.
It can't move. Oh, the bishop can move. It's pinned, so this rook coming to the green square checkmates the queen in a different way. That is so cool. So the rook comes here and the queen is checkmated again. So okay, we put the king back. That's a red move. How about the bishop? All red moves can't go here, here, or here.
Yeah.
So if there is, so there has to be one best move. So it's pawn to a3.
Yeah.
So
we could look at that.
I think we shall, just to
Yes,
really
understand why he chose to resign instead.
So we know there's no pieces that can do anything.
Yeah.
They're all completely frozen.
And this is why it's called Zugzwang. That means that you're forced to move.
Yeah.
So if white could just say, no, I will skip my turn, then maybe he would have a chance.
Yeah.
But he cannot do that.
Every move here will make your position far worse.
Yes.
So it's, that's why they call it the Immortal Zugzwang game. But let's say I play a3, and my plan here is I will capture this pawn, be protected by this bishop, and then I can sort of try to break out.
Yes, and I think that taking the pawn would help white a little bit, because then the knight could capture and maybe get out. But I'm thinking if black just adds more defense to this pawn, so is this, okay, it's a blue move, it should still be good enough. Oh, actually, you can just take it.
Yeah, I think
maybe the knight is going to be trapped. But I think even just pushing here is going to be, I think this is the most practical.
It's the easiest thing.
Just holding the grip.
Because if I capture here, which is the idea,
then taking back with the pawn, and we can see that this is still in prison.
Yeah, it has this except.
Okay, you could. Okay, but if the best thing you can do is to sack the first knight back.
For no.
Because, Nimzowitch, he also gained 2 pawns for the knight, and he has this really strong initiative.
Yeah, okay, and I can't capture there, but it's saying that almost all moves.
And I think, that's actually a nice idea. Try to push, let's say that you push the G pawn.
Actually, I want to do something else.
Okay.
I want to say, what if I push this one, and I say now it's your turn to go, because this doesn't.
So you're saying I'm in Zugzwang.
So you're in Zugzwang.
But I'm not in Zugzwang, because Nimzowitch was not in Zugzwang, because his pieces have plenty of space to maneuver around. So I think even just maybe putting this rook on another file. Yeah. Oh, actually, you can.
You can go here immediately.
You can go here immediately, or you could even just go back. Can you just try to go back, just to really prove the point that white is the one who has to make confessions.
Yeah. Still can't move this knight. This can't move either. This can't move either. Yeah. These have all the same problems.
Now you have to move the pawns in front of the king. That's not always the nicest thing to do.
No, let's say I do this one. It's blue. That's green. I think I'd like to see what we do here.
Because now there is a nice little tactical blow. So maybe if you want to find a direct way for black to win, you can pause the video. Way? I think there's a direct way.
Okay, so the bishop here is now very strong. So I'm not moving the bishop.
But even just, you could put it just back and declare Zugzwang again. But I think we can go for something more aggressive now.
Yeah, I just found it. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So I'll go with this rook to the green square there.
Yeah.
And
should we play that?
Yeah, we could totally play that. It's the that's because I think the audience understands now that you could also just go back and forth, and these pawns, you would end up being locked up over here.
Yeah.
And the point is that with all these possible moves, white has no legal moves that will make their position, even maintain the position.
Yeah.
Nimzowitch has done everything, and now every move white plays makes their position worse and worse and worse. So white is in like a
digging their own grave.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but if we play this,
should we play it?
Yeah, because it's a pretty cool idea. So I go here with just a little sacrifice.
Yes.
Because I'm checkmating the queen.
Yeah.
Right, and you can see the benefit of this small pawn move earlier. The queen cannot go
back.
But I didn't put my king up here,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't do that because I didn't want this bishop to be pinned. So when the bishop isn't pinned, I can come and capture the rook.
But do you see it's a red move?
Yeah, it's a red move.
Now let's find out why that was a red move.
And maybe you awesome people in the comment section and watching this video, maybe you can kind of see if you can find a very good move for black here. Let us know if you found it.
Have you found it?
Hmm?
And you have found it, right?
I have found it.
You have found it.
Before we show it,
Yes.
I want to spring a little kind of surprise question at you, something I've been thinking about.
Yes.
So I have noticed while we are doing these videos that you have a very nice voice,
Oh, thank you.
and you're very relaxing and you're very good at educating people. And it is my firm belief that there are far too few YouTube channels that combines ASMR and chess.
Yes.
So what do you say that I help you set up a channel,
Oh.
and we could call it like StudyQueen?
So we can make even more
Make even more
chess
chess
ASMR
content, yeah.
videos. Oh, I think I would be up for that.
That is fantastic. I'll take you up.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, but
I will, if you can find the movie here, then.
now the pressure is on. The pressure is on. No, it's checkmate in one move.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would be.
because of the bishop here.
Yeah, the beautiful bishop.
And just here, and look at what the board does when checkmate occurs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that before.
But also it does this thing I haven't seen before.
Oh.
I don't know what that's about. Because usually it does like a vroom, vroom, it goes on the animation. Now it does this.
But there was a little bit of sparkles.
Maybe it's a bug. We don't know. Maybe the computer was just like, that's too cool.
That's too cool.
I can't work with that.
Yeah, but that was the Immortal Zugzwang.
Yeah.
I hope
Thank
you
you.
enjoyed it. I think it's such a cool motive to have
It's-
Zugzwang so early in the game.
It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
Because, like, you love Tal, I love Tal, everybody loves Tal, and there are all
Yes.
these like queen sex, knight sex, and he
Yes.
sacrifices stuff. But this game is unique.
Yeah.
I have never seen a game where it's just complete Zugzwang, where every move actively not even doesn't improve your position, but makes
just-
your position worse.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Oh,
Ow.
oh, it's because it's an update. It's just because I have enabled. I have some thing enabled.
Yeah.
Because I've been beta testing or whatever at the board. So he's pushing like some update, and because I'm in a special
Okay.
category, it just pushed it directly.
Oh, so we just hit that update.
And so
Oh,
yeah,
that's so
Jeff
cool.
or like some of the programmers are sitting
that's
somewhere
cool.
at this exact
Okay,
moment.
I'm wondering what they're doing.
Let's
with,
press the
let's see.
update. Let's see what it does.
Yeah.
Because he promised me they would get the sandbox mode
Yeah.
for analysis. Because
Oh, that
so
would
you
be so
couldn't
cool.
put the pieces everywhere, and Stockfish just keeps running. So you can just set up a position, set up a puzzle.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get one of these boards.
I'll talk to Jeff
Oh,
about it.
that'd be good.
You'll need a channel though.
Yeah. Oh, that's reason enough for me. But I completely agree. I think that there's something so spectacular about queen sacrifices and beautiful combinations. But I also think this is quite charming, where you just slowly squeeze your opponent.
Yeah.
It's like a what do you call those? Like a python snake.
A boa constrictor.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, they're like the ones that.
That like strangle, just
Yeah, I imagine-
tightens and tightens and tightens.
I imagine like a guy like Karpov when he was a young lad.
Yes.
He's been like watching this and it's like, that is what
Yeah,
I
that's
wanna
what I'm gonna do
Let's
when
go.
I grow up.
do. Yeah, and he's just been torturing the rest of the world
Yes,
for 20
completely.
years with that. Okay, before we finish up, I just want to send a huge thank you to my amazing patrons over at patreon.com/ASMRchess. Your support really means the world to me, it really does. And it's because of you that I can continue creating content. And if you're not a patron and you are enjoying the videos and you would like help support the channel and help me upgrade my gear and help me help StudyQueen get some gear, please consider going over to patreon.com/ASMRchess. There's also like exclusive videos there that I make. You get access to the ASMR Chess Discord. Maybe you should get on that as well.
Yes, I
like
think
a bunch of cool people, and we just chat about life and chess and stuff.
Funny.
Yeah, and there's a weekly puzzle and there's a bunch of stuff. So yeah, and it's would be a great help for the channel. So that's it, and that just remains to thank you for being here and showing me this.
I'm happy as always.
Fantastic. And let's see if we can kind of make a new YouTuber out of you.
That would be so cool.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching.